Welcome, dear traveller, to Sleep Geography. This is your peaceful sanctuary, a place where the mind can wander and the body can rest. Tonight, we embark on a journey together, leaving behind the weight of the day. Before we begin, take a moment to settle in. Perhaps you're nestled beneath soft blankets, or maybe you're finding comfort in a favourite chair. Wherever you are, let your shoulders drop, let your breathing deepen. This time is yours. I'm curious. Where in the world are you listening from tonight? Whether you're in a bustling city or a quiet countryside, leave a gentle comment below. It's always wonderful to know how far our peaceful community stretches across the globe. Tonight, our minds will drift to a land of rolling green hills and ancient moss-covered stones, a place where mist clings to weathered cliffs and time moves with the patience of centuries. We're travelling to Ireland, where the Atlantic whispers secrets to the shore and every meadow holds 1,000 shades of green. If these journeys bring you peace, consider subscribing to join our growing community of gentle explorers. New destinations await us each week. Now close your eyes if you haven't already. Take one more deep breath. Our journey to the Emerald Isle begins. The clouds part slowly, like ancient curtains drawing back to reveal a masterpiece. Below stretches Ireland in all her quiet glory. From this great height, the land appears as a patchwork quilt sewn by patient hands. Fields of emerald and jade blend into patches of deeper forest green. Stone walls trace delicate lines across the countryside, their patterns written in a language older than memory. The Atlantic Ocean meets the western edge of this island with infinite tenderness. Grey-blue waters kiss the base of towering cliffs, their faces carved by millennia of wind and wave. The cliffs of Moher rise like sleeping giants from the sea, their dark stones softened by carpets of moss and lichen. Seabirds nest in the crevices, tiny white specks against the ancient rock. A gentle rain has just passed. The air carries the clean, sweet scent of wet earth and wild grass. Everything glistens with moisture. Each blade of grass holds a perfect droplet. Each stone wall shines as if polished by invisible hands. The light here possesses a quality found nowhere else on earth. Filtered through layers of soft grey cloud, it bathes the landscape in silver and pearl. This is not the harsh light of desert places or the golden glow of Mediterranean shores. Irish light is gentle, forgiving, transforming everything it touches into something softer, more dreamlike. Small villages dot the landscape like scattered seeds. Their whitewashed cottages cluster together, smoke rising from chimneys in thin, peaceful streams. Church spires pierce the low-hanging mist, their bells silent now in the evening calm. Between the villages the land breathes, vast stretches of bogland spread like ancient memories, their surfaces dark and mysterious. These peat bogs have been here for thousands of years, slowly forming, slowly changing, holding within them the stories of ages past. The wind moves across this landscape with a whisper. It carries the salt of the sea inland, mixing with the earthy sweetness of peat smoke and the green scent of growing things. This wind has blown across these hills since before human memory began. It knows every stone, every tree, every hidden valley. Rivers thread through the countryside like veins of silver. They move without hurry, winding between hills, pooling in quiet lakes that mirror the clouded sky. The Shannon, the Liffey, the Blackwater, each has its own song, its own ancient path to the sea. In the distance, mountains rise in soft purple silhouettes. The Wicklow Mountains, the McGillicuddy's Reeks, their names roll off the tongue like poetry. Mist clings to their peaks, veiling them in mystery. These mountains are old, worn smooth by time, their sharp edges gentle by centuries of rain and wind. The quality of silence here is profound. It's not an empty silence, but one filled with the small sounds of life, the distant bleating of sheep, the whisper of grass in the breeze, the far-off cry of a curlew. This is a silence that wraps around you like a soft blanket inviting rest. Scattered across the landscape stand the ruins of ancient times, Round towers rise from green fields, their stones darkened with age. Crumbling abbeys shelter beneath old oak trees, their empty windows framing rectangles of grey sky. These monuments speak of a time when monks copied manuscripts by candlelight, and pilgrims walked these hills in search of peace. The hedgerows that divide the fields are living walls, thick with hawthorn, blackthorn, and wild roses. In spring, they burst with white blossoms. Now, in this eternal evening of our journey, they bear the deep greens and browns of patient growth. Small creatures make their homes within these natural boundaries, hedgehogs, wrens, field mice living their quiet lives. Stone circles dot the landscape, older than the towers, older than the abbeys. They stand in silent testimony to peoples whose names we've forgotten, whose beliefs we can only guess at. The stones are worn smooth, covered in lichen, patient in their eternal watch. This is a landscape that invites contemplation. Every hill has its story, every valley its legend. The very air seems thick with memory, with the accumulated dreams of all who have walked these paths before. As evening deepens, a soft luminescence seems to rise from the earth itself. Perhaps it's the way the moisture in the air catches the fading light, or perhaps it's something more mysterious. Ireland has always been a threshold place, where the everyday world grows thin and other possibilities shimmer just beyond sight. The temperature is perfect, cool enough to invigorate, mild enough to comfort. This is the eternal Irish evening, where twilight stretches long and peaceful, reluctant to give way to night. Time moves differently here, measured not in minutes but in the slow shift of light across ancient stones. Sheep graze in the fields, their wool thick and cream-coloured against the green. They move slowly, peacefully, occasionally lifting their heads to gaze at something only they can see. Their presence adds to the timeless quality of the scene. Sheep have grazed these hills for countless generations and will continue long after we have passed. In the harbours along the coast, fishing boats rock gently at their moorings. Their painted hulls, blue, red, green, add spots of colour to the greystone quays. The day's work is done, nets are folded, ropes coiled. The fishermen have gone home to warm fires and quiet evenings. This is Ireland as she truly is, not the bright postcards or the tourist brochures, but the real land beneath. A place of subtle beauty, of quiet magic, of deep peace. The landscape holds you gently, asking nothing, offering everything. From this great height, you can sense the wholeness of it all, the way the mountains flow into valleys, valleys into plains, plains into the sea, everything connected, everything in its place. The stone walls that might seem like divisions from ground level reveal themselves as gentle guides, leading the eye across the landscape in pleasing patterns. The mist begins to gather in the low places, pooling in valleys like milk in a bowl. It will rise as the evening deepens, eventually covering much of the land in its soft embrace. But for now, it simply adds another layer of beauty to an already perfect scene. This is your first glimpse of Ireland, vast, peaceful, eternal. A land that exists outside of time, where the modern world fades away and older rhythms assert themselves. Here, there is no hurry, no urgency. Only the patient unfolding of evening across an ancient land. The feeling that rises in your chest is hard to name. Perhaps it's recognition, some deep part of you remembering what it means to be still, to be quiet, to simply exist in harmony with the world around you. Or perhaps it's anticipation, knowing that this vista is only the beginning, that countless wonders await as you descend into this emerald dream. Whatever you choose to call it, let this feeling settle into your bones. Let it slow your breathing, quiet your thoughts. You have arrived in Ireland, and Ireland welcomes you with open arms and an open heart. The journey into sleep begins here, high above this enchanted land, with all of Ireland spread before you like a promise of peace. The journey continues, and with each passing moment, more details emerge from this living tapestry below. The cliffs demand your attention once more. Their faces are not uniform but varied in texture and tone. Some sections are smooth, polished by centuries of Atlantic storms. Others are rough, craggy, offering tiny ledges where hardy plants cling to life. The moss that covers these ancient stones is not one green but many. Sage where the sun occasionally touches, deep forest green in the shadows, almost black where the moisture never fully dries. Each patch of moss feels different to the imagination. The newer growth would be soft, like velvet beneath fingertips. The older colonies form thick cushions, springy and resilient, holding decades of rain within their tiny fronds. In the crevices, different varieties create miniature forests, complete with their own ecosystems too small for the eye to fully comprehend from this height. The sea below moves with infinite patience. Its grey surface is not still but constantly shifting, like silk fabric stirred by an unseen hand. Where the water meets the cliff base, white foam forms and dissipates in an endless cycle. The rhythm is hypnotic, advance, retreat, advance, retreat. Each wave leaves its mark on the dark stone, a temporary signature that the next wave erases. The wind here has its own character. It moves across the cliff tops with a low, musical hum. Through the grass it creates patterns like invisible fingers combing through hair. The long grass bends and sways, revealing silver undersides before springing back to green. This movement spreads across the meadows in waves as if the earth itself were breathing. On your skin, this Irish air feels like a cool blessing. It carries moisture so fine it's almost imperceptible. Not quite mist, not quite rain, but something in between. This dampness doesn't chill but rather awakens the skin gently, making you aware of your own aliveness in the most peaceful way. The temperature hovers at that perfect point where you neither seek warmth nor coolness, where the body finds its natural equilibrium. The scent carried on this air tells stories. The salt from the sea arrives first, clean and sharp. Behind it comes the earthiness of peat, sweet and ancient. Wild thyme grows in patches along the cliff tops, releasing its subtle fragrance when the wind brushes over it. There's also the green smell of grass after rain, fresh, alive, almost edible in its purity. Return your gaze to those stone walls dividing the fields. Each wall is a masterwork of patience. The stones fit together without mortar, held in place by skill and gravity alone. Their surfaces are rough with lichen, orange, grey, pale green, creating abstract art that took centuries to paint. Between the stones, small spaces provide shelter for countless tiny lives. Spiders spin webs that catch the evening moisture. Beetles traverse the rocky surfaces on mysterious errands. The fields these walls enclose each have their own personality. Some are emerald bright with new grass, cropped short by grazing. Others grow wild with meadow flowers, purple vetch, yellow buttercups, white clover. Still others lie fallow, their earth dark and resting, preparing for future growth. The variety creates a patchwork that pleases the eye without demanding attention. In the villages below, life moves at a pace dictated by centuries of tradition. The smoke rising from chimneys is not hurried but lazy, drifting upward before the wind catches it and spreads it thin. This smoke carries the scent of turf fires, that distinctive Irish smell that speaks of home and warmth and stories told in the evening gloom. The whitewashed walls of the cottages glow softly in the filtered light. Their small windows are dark rectangles, occasionally showing the warm flicker of lamplight within. Gardens surround these homes, practical gardens with potato ridges and cabbage rows, but also gardens of beauty where roses climb over doorways and honeysuckle perfumes the air. The churches stand as anchors in each community. Their grey stone towers rise above the cottages, topped with simple crosses. The churchyards surrounding them are peaceful places, where ancient yew trees spread protective branches over weathered headstones. The names carved in these stones speak of generations who lived and died on this land, who knew every path and stream, who added their own threads to the continuing story of this place. Between the villages, the roads wind like rivers of stone. They follow the contours of the land, never fighting the natural flow but working with it. These roads are narrow, often bordered by those living hedgerows that serve as walls, windbreaks, and wildlife corridors all at once. The hedgerows are thick with life, brambles heavy with blackberries, hazel trees dropping nuts for dormice, wild roses adding splashes of pink to the green tapestry. The boglands deserve deeper attention. These are not empty spaces, but repositories of time itself. The peat beneath the surface holds perfectly preserved pieces of the past, ancient tree trunks, lost tools, sometimes even the remains of those who walked here millennia ago. The surface of the bog appears solid but would yield underfoot, releasing the scent of centuries with each step. Water pools in the low spots, creating mirrors that reflect the sky so perfectly it seems you could step through them into another world. The rivers that thread through this landscape each sing their own song. The smaller streams chuckle over stones, their water clear as glass, cold as winter morning. Larger rivers move with more dignity, their surfaces smooth but powerful. Along their banks grow willows and alders, their roots drinking deep, their branches trailing in the current. Fish move in the shadows, brown trout, salmon returning from the sea, eels on their mysterious journeys. The lakes scattered across the land are eyes of silver, watching the sky. Some are small, hidden in valleys, known only to the herons that fish their shores. Others stretch for miles, their far shores lost in mist. The water in these lakes is soft, stained brown by the peat, but pure. On still evenings like this, they become perfect mirrors, doubling the world, making it hard to tell where earth ends and sky begins. Look closer at those purple mountains in the distance. Their slopes are not bare, but covered in heather and gorse. In late summer, the heather blooms purple, transforming entire mountainsides into royal robes. The gorse adds splashes of golden yellow, its coconut scent carried on the wind. These plants are survivors, adapted to thin soil and harsh weather, beautiful in their resilience. The mist that clings to these peaks is not static, but constantly moving, revealing and concealing. Sometimes a summit appears, dark against the sky. Moments later it vanishes, swallowed by cloud. This play of visibility and mystery is part of Ireland's magic. The landscape never fully reveals itself, always holding something back, always promising more. Among the ancient ruins, time takes on a different quality. The round towers stand like exclamation points on the landscape, their conical caps still intact after 1,000 years. Built as refugees from Viking raids, they now serve as refugees for jackdaws and bats. The stone spirals up inside them, worn smooth by countless feet climbing to safety. From their tops, monks once watched for danger. Now they frame rectangles of peaceful sky. The ruined abbeys tell their own stories. Gothic arches frame nothing but air. Carved capitals that once supported roofs now support only nests. In the cloisters, where monks once walked in meditation, grass grows thick and soft. The silence here is profound, broken only by the wind singing through empty windows. These places invite contemplation, their very incompleteness speaking to the impermanence of all things. But older still are the stone circles, those mysterious monuments to forgotten beliefs. The stones themselves are various, some tall and thin, others broad and squat. They are arranged with purpose, though the purpose remains hidden. Some say they mark astronomical events. Others believe they were places of ceremony and gathering. Standing among them, you feel the weight of time, the presence of those who raise these stones with such effort and intention. The quality of light continues to shift subtly. It's not the dramatic change of sunset, but something more gentle, a gradual softening, a slow transformation from day to evening. Colours deepen, greens become richer, more complex. The grey of the sky takes on hints of lavender and rose. This is the gloaming, that magical Irish twilight that seems to last forever. In this light, every detail becomes more precious. The texture of bark on an ancient oak, the pattern of ripples on a pond, the way grass seed heads catch the light like tiny lanterns. The landscape reveals itself in layers, each moment offering new discoveries to patient observers. The sheep in the fields have settled for the evening. They cluster together in small groups, their breath visible in the cooling air. Their presence adds to the timeless quality of the scene. Shepherds have watched over flocks on these hills since before memory. The rhythms of their lives, lambing in spring, shearing in summer, gathering in autumn, mark the turning of the years more surely than any calendar. Along the coast, the fishing villages prepare for night. Nets hang drying on wooden frames. Lobster pots stack in neat piles. The boats themselves tell stories. Names painted on their sides speak of hopes and dreams, of loved ones and lucky stars. Mary Catherine, Star of the Sea, Happy Return, each name a prayer sent out with every voyage. This is Ireland in her evening dress, neither hiding her age nor apologising for her weather. She is what she is, ancient, patient, beautiful, in a way that doesn't shout, but whispers. Her beauty is in the details, in the accumulation of small perfections that together create something greater than their sum. The feeling of peace deepens with each moment spent observing this land. There's no urgency here, no demand for attention or action. Ireland simply exists, complete in herself, offering her gifts to those who take time to receive them. The landscape works its quiet magic, slowing the heartbeat, deepening the breath, preparing the mind for rest. From this great height, you are both observer and participant. Part of you remains above, taking in the vast sweep of it all, but another part has already begun to descend, drawn by the promise of closer acquaintance with this enchanted land. Soon you will walk among these fields, breathe this air more deeply, feel the ancient stones beneath your feet. But for now, this vista is enough, more than enough. It fills the eyes and satisfies the soul. Ireland spreads before you like a living map of peace, each detail an invitation to go deeper, to know more, to rest in the embrace of a land that has been offering comfort to weary travellers for thousands of years. The journey has only just begun, and already you feel the gentle pull of sleep as soft and insistent as Irish rain. You descend now, drawn closer to the earth, to know this land more intimately. The grand vista gives way to specific places, each with its own character, its own quiet story to tell. The hills of Connemara rise and fall like gentle waves frozen in time. These are not dramatic peaks, but soft swells of land, covered in a blanket of green so complete it seems the earth itself was born this colour. Each hill flows into the next without sharp boundaries, creating a landscape that soothes the eye with its endless continuity. The grass here is not uniform. In the valleys where water gathers, it grows lush and deep, a green so rich it appears almost blue in certain lights. On the hillsides, it's shorter, tougher, mixed with heather and low-growing herbs. Your feet would sink slightly into this turf with each step, the ground beneath springy with centuries of growth and decay. Between the hills, small streams find their way. They move without hurry, their waters stained amber by the peat they flow through. These streams have carved shallow valleys over millennia, creating sheltered places where ferns grow tall and foxgloves rise on slender stems. The water makes soft sounds, not rushing but conversing quietly with the stones in its bed. A lough appears, nestled between two hills like a secret. Its surface is still, dark as polished obsidian. The water here is different from the sea, softer, quieter, holding the sky in its depths rather than reflecting it. Around the edges reeds grow in thick stands, their seed heads brown and full. A moorhen threads through them, leaving a thin wake that spreads and disappears. The sky above is reflected perfectly in this still water, creating a double world. Grey clouds move slowly across both sky and lake, their shadows darkening the hills momentarily before passing on. Sometimes the surface ripples, perhaps from a fish rising, perhaps from a breath of wind. and the reflection breaks into 1,000 pieces before reforming. The shores of the lough are soft, margins where land and water meet uncertainly. Here grows a different kind of grass, one that tolerates wet feet. Moss covers the rocks that emerge from the shallows, so thick and green it looks like velvet cushions placed by careful hands. Touch one in your mind. It would be cool, damp, incredibly soft, releasing the scent of clean water and earth. Moving inland, the landscape begins to change. The soft hills give way to something more ancient, more mysterious. You've entered the Burren, where the bones of the earth show through its green skin. Here, limestone pavement stretches in all directions, cracked and fissured by ages of rain. This rock is not lifeless, but teeming with subtle activity. In every crack, life finds a way. Tiny ferns uncurl from crevices, alpine flowers, refugees from the Ice Age, bloom in protected pockets. The limestone itself is beautiful, grey and white, sometimes tinged with pink, worn smooth in places, sharp and angular in others. Walking here would be like crossing a giant's causeway. Each limestone block is different, some flat and stable, others tilted at angles. Between them, the cracks, called grikes, drop down into darkness. These hidden valleys shelter whole communities of plants, protected from the wind, warmed by the earth below. The Burren meets the sea dramatically. The limestone pavement continues right to the edge, then drops away to meet the Atlantic. Here, the waves have carved the rock into fantastic shapes. Arches, pillars, platforms that appear and disappear with the tide. The sea here is wilder than in the sheltered bays, its colour deeper, shifting from grey to green to blue-black. Salt spray has weathered the rocks near the shore, creating textures unlike those inland. The limestone here is pitted and rough, covered in places with barnacles and sea lichens. These lichens paint the rocks in subtle colours, orange, yellow, black, creating abstract art that changes with the wetness of the stone. Above the shore, the wind has shaped everything. Trees grow sideways, their branches all reaching inland, sculpted by decades of Atlantic gales. Even the grass here grows differently, shorter, tougher, adapted to salt and storm. But in this evening calm, everything is still, as if the landscape is resting between battles with the elements. Return now to gentler places. In County Kerry, the mountains rise higher but no less peacefully. The McGillicuddy's reeks wear mantles of purple heather and golden gorse. These mountains are old, their sharp edges worn away by time, leaving curves and flowing lines that please the eye. The valleys between these peaks cradle lakes of extraordinary beauty. Each lake has its own mood. Some are bright and open, reflecting every change in the sky. Others are dark and brooding, shadowed by overhanging peaks, their waters keeping ancient secrets. The famous lakes of Killarney lie like jewels in their setting of mountains and woods. Around these lakes, oak woods grow, some of the last remnants of the great forest that once covered Ireland. These trees are centuries old, their trunks massive, their branches creating cathedral-like spaces beneath. The forest floor is soft with leaf mould springy underfoot. Ferns grow in the understory, their fronds catching what light filters through the canopy. In these woods, moss covers everything. It drapes from branches like green curtains. It carpets the ground in emerald plush. It turns every rock into a soft sculpture. This moss holds moisture like a sponge, releasing it slowly, keeping the forest humid even in dry weather. The air here feels different, thicker, richer, alive with the scent of growth and gentle decay. Streams run through these forests, their banks lined with moss-covered stones. The water is clear as crystal, cold enough to make your teeth ache. Dippers bob on midstream rocks, diving for insects. Brown trout hold steady in the current, visible as shadows until they dart away. The sound of water is constant but never overwhelming, a background music that enhances the peace rather than disturbing it. Emerging from the forest, meadows spread before you. These are not the manicured lawns of gardens, but wild places where grass grows tall, and flowers bloom in profusion. In early summer, these meadows would be painted with colour: purple orchids, yellow buttercups, white daisies. Now, in this eternal evening, they wear subtler shades, but their beauty is no less for being quiet. The texture of these meadows invites touch. The grass would be soft against your palms, slightly damp with evening dew. Seed heads would catch on clothing, asking to be carried to new places. The earth beneath would be soft, yielding, full of the roots and bulbs that promise next year's growth. Stone buildings dot these landscapes, but they seem to grow from the earth rather than impose upon it. A ruined cottage stands in a field, its walls still strong, but its roof long gone. Grass grows where the floor once was. A rowan tree has rooted in what was once the hearth, its berries bright against the grey stone. These ruins don't feel sad but peaceful, nature and human work finding a new harmony. The field walls here are different from those near the coast. Built of the local stone, they take on the character of their place. In the limestone country, they're pale and precise. In areas of sandstone, they're warmer in colour, more roughly built. Each wall represents countless hours of labour, stones chosen and placed by hands that knew this land intimately. Follow one of these walls and it leads you on a journey, over a hill where the view opens suddenly to show distant mountains, through a gap where sheep have worn a path, along a stream where yellow flag irises grow in the marshy ground. The wall is both boundary and guide, marking the way through a landscape that might otherwise overwhelm with its vastness. The light continues its slow transformation. Colours deepen and merge. The green of the hills takes on blue undertones. The grey of the stones warms to purple. This is not the dramatic light of sunset, but something more subtle, a gradual gentling of the day into evening. In this light, textures become more pronounced. The rough bark of a hawthorn tree, the smooth surface of a river stone, the delicate veining in a leaf. Each surface tells its story through touch as much as sight. The landscape invites not just observation but imagined contact. The coolness of stone, the softness of moss, the prickle of gorse. Water is everywhere in this land, not just in the obvious places, the lakes and streams, but hidden in the landscape itself. It seeps from hillsides, creating small springs surrounded by watercress and marsh marigolds. It pools in hollows, creating temporary mirrors that reflect the sky. It saturates the ground, making every footstep a small splash. This abundance of water creates a landscape that is always changing, always alive. Plants grow with tropical enthusiasm in the mild, wet climate. Stone walls develop coats of moss and lichen. Wood rots and returns to earth, feeding new growth. The cycle of growth and decay is visible everywhere, but it's a gentle cycle, without violence or haste. In the valleys, mist begins to gather as evening deepens. It forms first in the lowest places, pooling like milk. As the air cools, it rises, wreathing the hills in soft scarves of white. This mist transforms the landscape, hiding some features while emphasizing others. A tree emerges from the fog like a figure from a dream. A hillside disappears entirely, leaving only its summit floating like an island. The mist carries its own scents and sensations. It would feel cool on your skin, almost imperceptible touches of moisture. It smells of earth and grass, of water and stone. It muffles sounds, creating a deeper quiet, as if the world has been wrapped in cotton wool. Through the mist, lights begin to appear. Not many, this is still a rural land, but enough to mark human presence. A farmhouse window glows warm yellow. A car's headlights sweep across a hillside road. These lights don't intrude on the natural peace but add to it, reminders that people have found ways to live gently in this gentle land. The geography of Ireland reveals itself as more than mere physical features. It's a living system where rock, water, plant, and air interact in endless subtle ways. The limestone pavement of the Burren creates unique microclimates in its cracks. The peat bogs store carbon and water, regulating the landscape around them. The forests breathe out oxygen and moisture, creating their own weather. Understanding this geography means understanding patience. These hills were not carved in a day, but over millions of years. The peat in the bogs accumulated one thin layer at a time. The stone walls were built stone by stone, generation after generation adding to the work. Everything here speaks of time measured in centuries, not moments. Yet within this ancient stability there's constant small change. A stream shifts its course slightly after heavy rain. A tree falls and creates a new glade in the forest. Flowers bloom and fade with the seasons. The landscape is never exactly the same twice, yet it's always recognisably itself. The rocky areas deserve special attention. In places like the Burren, but also scattered throughout the land, exposed rock creates a different kind of beauty. This is not the soft beauty of green fields, but something more austere, more essential. The rock shows the bones of the earth, the foundation on which all else rests. These rocks are full of stories. Fossils of ancient sea creatures spiral through the limestone. Glacial scratches show where ice once moved across the land. Different types of rock tell of volcanic eruptions, ancient seas, tremendous pressures that folded and twisted the Earth's crust. A geologist could read these rocks like a book, but even without that knowledge, their age and patience inspire awe. Where rock and water meet, special places form. Springs emerge from hillsides, their water pure and cold. Waterfalls tumble over ledges, wearing the stones smooth over centuries. Sea caves echo with the sound of waves. Each of these places has its own atmosphere, its own particular piece. The soil itself tells stories. In some places it's thin, barely covering the rock beneath. Plants here must be tough, adapted to little nourishment. In other places, especially in the valleys, soil has accumulated deep and rich. Here, different plants thrive, creating different communities, different colours and textures in the landscape tapestry. This variety in soil creates the patchwork nature of the Irish landscape. A rocky outcrop supports heather and gorse. A few yards away, deeper soil allows grass to grow lush and green. A wet hollow develops its own bog plants. Each patch has its own character, yet all blend together in a harmonious whole. The boundaries between these different areas are rarely sharp. Instead, one type of landscape grades gently into another. Forest edges thin gradually into meadow. Meadow becomes marsh, becomes lake. This gradual transition creates a landscape without harsh edges, where everything flows into everything else. Animals move through this landscape, mostly unseen but leaving signs of their passage. A badger path winds through the undergrowth. Deer tracks mark the soft earth near a stream. Fox droppings on a prominent rockmark territory. These animals are part of the landscape's story, their lives interwoven with the plants and rocks and water. Birds too shape and are shaped by the geography. Curlews nest in the boglands, their haunting calls part of the evening chorus. Ravens nest on cliff faces, their intelligence evident in their play on the wind. Small birds, wrens, robins, blackbirds, find homes in every hedge and thicket. Their songs add another layer to the landscape's music. The interplay of land and sea defines much of Ireland's character. Even inland, you're never far from the ocean's influence. Sea winds bring salt and moisture far from the coast. Seabirds follow rivers inland to feed. The very rocks in many places are formed from ancient seabeds, lifted above the waves by unimaginable forces. This marriage of land and sea creates unique environments. Salt marshes where land plants and sea plants mingle, estuaries where fresh and salt water mix, creating rich feeding grounds for birds. Rocky shores where marine and terrestrial life meet and sometimes merge. Each of these edge places has its own fascination, its own particular beauty. As you absorb this geography, patterns emerge. The way water always finds the lowest path, the way plants arrange themselves according to moisture and shelter, the way human settlements follow the logic of the land, nestled in valleys, perched above flood plains, oriented to catch the sun. These patterns repeat at every scale. The branching of a stream system mirrors the branching of a tree. The cracks in drying mud echo the fissures in limestone pavement. Spirals appear in fossils, in snail shells, in the arrangement of leaves. nature uses the same designs over and over, creating harmony through repetition and variation. The colours of this landscape deserve meditation. Green dominates, but it's not one green, but thousands. The bright emerald of new grass, the deep forest green of pine needles, the grey-green of lichen, the blue-green of distant hills. Each shade has its place, its purpose in the overall composition. Other colours provide accents. The purple of heather-covered hills, the gold of gorse flowers, the red-brown of bracken in autumn, the white of limestone and quartz, the black of wet rock and deep water. These colours don't shout but speak quietly, requiring attention to fully appreciate their subtlety. Textures, too, create variety within unity. Smooth water reflects rough stone. Soft moss covers hard wood. Fine grass contrasts with coarse heather. These textural differences invite touch, make the landscape tangible even when experienced only through imagination. The sounds of this geography are as varied as its sights. Water provides a constant soundtrack, trickling, flowing, dripping, splashing. Wind adds its voice, different through grass than through trees, different over water than over stone. Birds call, insects hum, leaves rustle. But underlying all is a profound quiet, a peace that seems to rise from the earth itself. This is a geography that invites contemplation rather than conquest. Its beauty lies not in dramatic gestures but in quiet perfection. Every view rewards patient observation. Every detail reveals new complexities. The landscape doesn't impose itself but waits to be discovered, layer by layer, secret by secret. As evening continues its slow progress, the geography takes on new aspects. Shadows lengthen and deepen, creating new shapes, hiding some features while emphasizing others. The temperature drops slightly, enough to notice, but not enough to discomfort. Dew begins to form on grass and stone, adding a shimmer to every surface. This is Ireland's geography in its essence, varied yet unified, ancient yet alive, peaceful yet never static. It's a landscape that has sheltered and sustained people for millennia, that has inspired poets and artists, that continues to offer its quiet gifts to any who take time to receive them. The land speaks, but in whispers. It tells of time beyond human comprehension, of forces that shaped continents, of life that persists against all odds. Yet it also tells of the immediate moment. This blade of grass, this drop of water, this breath of air. All scales of existence are present simultaneously, from the geological to the instantaneous. In knowing this geography, you begin to know Ireland itself. Not the Ireland of postcards and stereotypes, but the real land, complex, subtle, endlessly fascinating. A land that rewards not the hurried glance, but the patient gaze. A land that offers not excitement, but peace. The journey through this geography could continue forever. Each valley has its own character. Each hill offers new perspectives. Each stream sings its own song. But for now, this knowing is enough. You've touched the essence of the land, felt its textures, absorbed its colours, heard its quiet music. The geography of Ireland has welcomed you, shown you some of its secrets, invited you deeper into its peaceful embrace. The land itself has become a meditation, a prayer without words, a lullaby sung by the earth itself. The geography of this land holds memory. The stones, the water, the very soil are archives of a quiet past. As you drift closer, this history begins to whisper, not through grand monuments, but in the peaceful places where people sought solace and created beauty. Imagine a valley nestled between gentle wooded mountains. Two dark, still lakes lie on the valley floor, reflecting the sky like polished mirrors. This is a place like Glendalough, a valley of deep peace, chosen centuries ago by those seeking a life of quiet contemplation. Here, a monastic city once thrived, but today it is a collection of graceful ruins sleeping in the green grass. A tall, slender round tower stands as a silent sentinel, its cone-shaped cap pointing to the eternal grey sky. The stone is cool and smooth, fitted together so perfectly that after 1,000 years it still seems to grow from the earth itself. Its purpose was simple: a place of refuge, a landmark for pilgrims, a bell tower to mark the gentle rhythm of the day. Around the tower, small stone churches dot the landscape. These are not grand cathedrals built to inspire awe, but simple, humble structures, some barely larger than a room. They are like prayers made of stone. Their small, rounded doorways invite you to imagine stepping from the outer world of wind and rain into an inner world of stillness and silence. Inside these chapels, the air is hushed. A single, narrow window might let in a sliver of soft Irish light, just enough to illuminate the worn stone floor and the faint traces of ancient carvings on the walls. Here, monks would stand, their voices joined in a low, continuous chant, a sound like the humming of the earth itself, a vibration that settled deep into the stones and into the soul. A graveyard surrounds these holy buildings, though it feels more like a meadow. The headstones are old, leaning at angles, their inscriptions softened and erased by centuries of rain. They are high crosses, their surfaces covered in intricate patterns, standing amidst the wild grass. Moss has filled the carved letters, and wildflowers grow at their bases. This is not a place of sadness, but of profound peace, a testament to lives lived and returned to the earth in a cycle as natural as the seasons. To live in such a place was to live in rhythm with nature. The day was marked not by clocks, but by the position of the sun, the sound of the bell, the needs of the gardens. The monks were scholars and farmers, artists and contemplators. They tended vegetable patches, fished in the dark lakes, and walked the wooded paths, seeing divinity not just in their books, but in the reflection of a mountain on the water, in the unfurling of a fern frond. Their greatest work was often done in small, cold rooms of stone, known as scriptoriums. Here, by the flickering light of a candle or the pale glow from a small window, they created masterpieces of patience and devotion. The air would have been still, smelling of beeswax, ink and old parchment. The only sound would have been the gentle scratch of a quill on vellum. Imagine the process, slow and deliberate, a meditation in itself. First, the preparation of the page. The vellum, made from calf skin, was scraped and stretched until it was thin and smooth as cream. Its surface was a perfect canvas, ready to receive the sacred words and images that would fill it for 1,000 years. Then, the ink. Made from oak galls or soot, it was a deep, permanent black. The monks would dip their quills, fashioned from the feathers of a goose, and begin to write. The script was beautiful and flowing, each letter formed with a steady hand and a focused mind. This was not hurried work, but a form of prayer, each word an offering. But it was the illumination that transformed these books into treasures. The monks were artists of incredible skill. They created pigments from the earth itself, grinding malachite for green, lapis lazuli for a brilliant blue that seemed to hold the sky, red ochre for the colour of the soil. They mixed these powdered minerals with egg white to create paint that would last for centuries. With the finest of brushes, they would paint intricate borders and elaborate initial letters, and within these designs they wove the pattern that is the signature of Celtic art, the knotwork. Look closely at this knotwork, even in your mind's eye. It is formed from a single unbroken line. This line loops and weaves, turning back on itself, flowing over and under in a continuous mesmerizing pattern. It has no beginning and no end. It represents eternity, the interconnectedness of all things, the endless cycles of life, death, and rebirth. The patterns are not merely abstract. Within them, you can see the influence of the natural world. The spirals echo the shape of a snail's shell or an unfurling fern. The flowing lines mimic the movement of water in a stream, or the way ivy winds itself around the trunk of an ancient tree. The monks saw the divine pattern in the world around them and translated it onto the page. Sometimes they would add gold leaf. They would breathe on the page to create a faint film of moisture, then lay down a whisper-thin sheet of gold. Burnished with a smooth stone, it would glow with a light of its own, seeming to illuminate the words from within, a captured piece of heaven in the dim candlelight of a stone cell. These books, like the Book of Kells, were not just collections of text. They were sacred objects, repositories of wisdom and beauty, created in profound peace. They were beacons of light in a world that was often dark, testaments to the power of quiet, focused creation. This same artistic spirit was not confined to the page. It was carved into stone, creating the magnificent high crosses that still stand in the ancient churchyards and lonely fields. These crosses were sermons in stone, telling stories to people who could not read. But they were also objects of immense beauty. Imagine a stone carver at work. His tools are simple: a hammer, a chisel. His material is the hard, unyielding granite of the local hills. For months, for years, he works, chipping away tiny fragments of stone. The process is slow, requiring immense patience and a clear vision of the final form. He's not fighting the stone, but working with it, discovering the patterns that lie hidden within. He carves the same eternal knotwork that his brother monk paints in the scriptorium. He carves spirals and animal figures, their bodies elongated and woven into the patterns. He tells stories of saints and scholars, but he does so with a uniquely Irish sensibility, where the sacred and the natural are deeply intertwined. Over the centuries, the wind and rain have worked on his creation. The sharp edges of the carving have softened. Lichen has grown in the crevices, adding touches of pale green and gold. The cross no longer looks like a new creation, but like a feature of the natural landscape, as much a part of the place as the ancient hawthorn tree that grows beside it. It has settled into the earth, a permanent whisper of the faith and artistry that created it. But this quiet culture was not only found in monasteries, it lived and breathed in the homes of ordinary people, in the traditions passed down from one generation to the next. The most powerful of these traditions was storytelling. Picture a small, whitewashed cottage as twilight deepens. The only light comes from the glowing embers of a peat fire in the hearth. The air is warm, thick with the earthy sweet scent of burning turf. A small group of people sit on low stools, their faces lit by the gentle flicker of the flames. In the corner, a storyteller, a seonchai, prepares to speak. There is no book, no script. The stories live in his memory, a vast library of tales inherited from his parents and grandparents, stretching back through time. When he speaks, his voice is quiet, rhythmic, almost a chant. This is not dramatic performance, but a gentle sharing, a weaving of words to create a world in the minds of his listeners. The stories he tells are not of great battles or famous kings. They are stories of the land and the other world that exists just alongside our own. He speaks of the Aos Sea, the fairy folk who live in ancient mounds and beneath the roots of hawthorn trees. These are not mischievous sprites, but powerful, dignified beings, guardians of the natural world, who must be treated with respect. He tells how the salmon gained its wisdom by eating nuts from a hazel tree that grew over the well of knowledge. He tells of journeys to Tir na Nog, the land of eternal youth, a paradise that lies across the western sea. He tells stories that explain the landscape, why a certain mountain is shaped the way it is, how a particular lake was formed, the story behind a standing stone in a lonely field. In these tales, the natural world is alive and intelligent. Animals can speak, trees have wisdom, and rivers possess ancient memories. The boundary between the human and the magical is thin, easily crossed. These stories taught not just entertainment, but a way of seeing the world, a way that recognized the sacred in every stone and stream, that understood humanity's place as part of a much larger, more mysterious whole. Listening by the fire, you would feel the day's worries fall away. The storyteller's voice, the warmth of the fire, the deep magic of the tales, all combine to create a profound sense of peace and belonging. You're connected to the land, to the ancestors, to the ancient wisdom that flows through these simple, powerful words. Sometimes words would fall silent and music would take their place. The music that grew from this land is like the landscape itself, full of gentle melancholy, flowing lines and quiet spaces. Imagine the sound of a harp. its strings plucked by skilled fingers. The notes are clear and resonant, like raindrops falling into a still lake. The melodies are ancient, full of longing and a deep, sweet sadness that is not painful, but beautiful. The music tells wordless stories of love and loss, of the beauty of the natural world, of the turning of the seasons, or perhaps the instrument is a simple tin whistle. Its sound is pure and high, like the cry of a curlew over the bog. It can be playful, dancing like a butterfly, or it can be mournful, a thin thread of sound that hangs on the evening air full of emotion and grace. The Willian pipes, when played softly, offer a sound unlike any other. A continuous warm drone provides a foundation, a sound like the breathing of the earth. Over this, the chanter sings a complex, beautiful melody, full of intricate ornamentation. It is a sound that speaks of deep roots, of connection to place, of a culture that has found its voice in the whisper of the wind and the flow of the water. This creative, peaceful spirit also found expression in the work of hands. In the rhythmic clatter of a loom, a weaver would create woolen cloth, her feet working the pedals, her hands passing the shuttle back and forth. The wool came from the sheep that grazed the green hills. The dyes came from the earth, yellow from the gorse flower, brown from lichens scraped from stones, purple from the berries of the elder tree. The patterns she wove were often ancient, simple geometric shapes that had been passed down for generations. The work was slow, repetitive, meditative. The finished cloth was warm, strong, and beautiful, a true product of its environment. Elsewhere, a potter sits at his wheel. The clay he uses was dug from a nearby riverbank, its texture smooth and cool. As the wheel turns, his hands gently shape the spinning lump of clay, coaxing it upward into the form of a bowl or a pitcher. The process is quiet, centered, requiring a deep connection between the potter and his material. He's not forcing the clay but guiding it, working with its nature. The finished pots are simple, functional and beautiful, their curves echoing the rolling hills outside his workshop. All of these things, the monk's illuminated manuscript, the storyteller's tale, the weaver's cloth, the potter's bowl, are threads in the same cultural tapestry. They speak of a people deeply connected to their environment, who found meaning and beauty in quiet, patient work. They tell of a culture that valued wisdom over wealth, community over conquest, and art that grew organically from the world around it. This history does not shout. It whispers. You can feel it in the deep silence of a ruined monastery, in the cool touch of a carved stone cross, in the endless flow of a Celtic knot. It is a history of peace, of scholarship, of artistry, of a profound and respectful relationship with the natural world. This past is not gone. It has soaked into the land, becoming part of the very atmosphere. The peace of Glendalough is not just the absence of noise, it is the accumulated silence of centuries of prayer and contemplation. The magic of the storyteller's tale is not just fantasy, it is the preserved wisdom of a people who knew how to listen to the land. This gentle, creative spirit is Ireland's deepest gift. It is a quiet inheritance, a sense of peace that has been cultivated over thousands of years. And as you drift deeper into this understanding, you feel that peace settle over you. It is a peace that is as real and tangible as the soft Irish mist, a comfort that wraps around you like a hand-woven woolen blanket, inviting you to rest, to dream, to be still. The history that breathes from this land is not a story of dates and deeds, but of textures, echoes, and the quiet persistence of beauty. It asks you to slow down, to listen with more than your ears, to feel with more than your hands. Let your focus return to that valley of two lakes, to the sleeping monastic city. Stand for a moment before the round tower. If you could place a hand on its surface, the stone would feel alive with coolness. It holds the memory of 1,000 years of rain, the deep chill of the earth from which it was quarried. The texture is not uniform. In some places it is smooth as a river stone polished by wind. In others it is gritty, a fine powder of granite that would leave a grey ghost on your fingertips. Lichen has mapped the centuries on its sides, creating pale green continents and islands of silver grey. Now, step through the rounded archway of one of the small, roofless chapels. The transition is immediate. The sound of the wind in the trees outside fades, replaced by a profound, cushioned silence. Sound behaves differently here, absorbed by the thick stone walls and the soft grass that has become the floor. Your own imagined breath seems to be the loudest thing in this sacred space. The feeling within these walls is one of being held. Even without a roof to shelter you, the stones provide a sense of sanctuary. They have absorbed the resonance of countless prayers, the quiet hum of chants, the stillness of centuries of contemplation. It is a peace so deep it feels like a physical presence, settling on your shoulders like a soft, invisible cloak. Look at the walls themselves. See how ivy has worked its way into the crevices. Its dark green leaves are stark contrast to the pale grey stone. Small hardy ferns grow from the tops of the walls, their delicate fronds swaying in the slightest breeze that finds its way inside. The chapel is no longer just a human creation. It has become a collaboration with nature, a slow, beautiful process of return. The light that falls through the empty east window is soft and diffused. It doesn't illuminate the space so much as fill it with a gentle luminescence. It paints a slow-moving rectangle of light on the grassy floor, highlighting individual blades of grass and the tiny white heads of clover. In this simple frame of stone, the ordinary world outside becomes a masterpiece of quiet beauty. From this place of stone and silence, journey deeper into the mind of the monk back to the scriptorium. The scent of the room is complex and ancient. There is the dry, almost sweet smell of the vellum pages, a scent that speaks of patience and careful preparation. Beneath that is the sharper, metallic tang of the ink, especially the one made with iron salts, a smell like a distant storm. And weaving through it all is the warm, honeyed fragrance of the beeswax candles, their soft light the only source of warmth in the cold stone cell. Imagine the feel of the vellum page. It is not like paper. It has a weight, a substance, a life of its own. It is cool to the touch, and so smooth that a quill seems to glide across its surface. Yet it is also incredibly strong, made to last for an eternity. To turn such a page would be a deliberate act, the whisper of its movement a significant sound in the deep quiet. The silence of the scriptorium is absolute, a vessel that holds the small sounds of creation. The dip and lift of the quill from the ink pot, the tiny rhythmic scratch as words are formed, a sound like a mouse moving through dry leaves. The soft exhalation of breath as the monk leans closer to paint a delicate spiral. These are the only sounds, and they are the sounds of devotion made tangible. Focus again on the Celtic knotwork, that endless flowing line. It is more than a pattern, it is a philosophy. Follow a single strand with your eye. It never terminates. It flows onward, weaving under and over its other parts, always returning, always continuing. It speaks of a world where everything is connected, where the spiritual and the physical are threads in the same divine fabric. There are no loose ends in this universe, no abrupt stops. There is only the eternal graceful flow. When the monk added colour, he was adding another layer of meaning. The deep blue of lapis was the colour of heaven and of truth. The vibrant green of malachite was the colour of the living earth, of new growth and eternal life. The rich red of ochre was the colour of humanity, of lifeblood and sacrifice. These were not just decorations, they were prayers in pigment, a visual theology woven into the very fabric of the sacred text. The gold leaf was the final touch, the breath of the divine. Imagine watching the monk's process. He breathes a whisper of warm, moist air onto the page, creating a surface just tacky enough. He lifts the impossibly thin sheet of gold with a special brush, the static electricity holding it in place. He lays it down, and with a smooth, polished stone he burnishes it. The transformation is magical. The dull leaf becomes a patch of pure, captured light, a small sun that glows even in the dimmest corner of the room, promising an illumination that is more than just knowledge. Now let this reverence for patient craft lead you back out into the open air, to the stone carver and his high cross. Stand before one of these monuments, feel its immense presence. It is a thing of absolute permanence, an anchor holding this patch of earth to its past and to the heavens. Place your imagined hand on its surface. The stone is rough, textured, alive with the bumps and grooves of the carving. In the deep cuts of the knotwork, moss has found a home, its green softness highlighting the hard, grey resilience of the stone. Trace the lines of a carving with your mind's finger. Feel the way the sculptor's chisel followed the curve of a spiral, the dip and rise of the interwoven strands. These are not sharp, precise lines, but forms that have been gentled by 1,000 years of weather. The rain has acted as a second carver, softening the edges, blurring the details just enough to make them feel like memories rising from the stone rather than images imposed upon it. The silence here is different from that in the chapel. It is the silence of open space, filled with the whisper of wind and the distant call of a bird. The cross stands within this silence, a focal point for contemplation. It doesn't demand your attention, but it holds it effortlessly. It has been witness to everything. The changing of the seasons, the passing of generations, the slow shifting of the clouds. It is a silent storyteller, its tales written in a language of symbol and form that speaks directly to a deeper part of the mind. This tradition of storytelling leads you finally back to the warmth of the cottage hearth. The darkness outside is now complete, making the small room feel like the entire world. The peat fire does not blaze, it glows. The embers are a deep, pulsating orange, shifting and settling with a soft sigh. The heat is gentle, warming your face while the cool evening air settles at your back. The storyteller's voice is the centre of this small universe. It is a low, comforting murmur, the sound of the landscape given a human tongue. There is a texture to his voice, a slight roughness from a life lived outdoors, a lilt that follows the rise and fall of the hills. He does not rush the words. He lets them hang in the warm air, giving them weight and space to settle in the listener's imagination. The pauses he takes are as important as the words he speaks. In those moments of silence, the images he has conjured take root. You can almost hear the rustle of leaves in the enchanted forest he describes. Feel the cold spray from the magical well. The firelight flickers on his face as he speaks, illuminating ancient lines and gentle eyes, then letting them fall back into shadow. He speaks of the thin places, where the veil between this world and the other world is worn away. These are not frightening places, but locations of great peace and power. An ancient stone circle at twilight, a spring bubbling from the roots of a hawthorn tree, a misty island on a still lough. His stories are a map to the sacred, a guide to seeing the magic that lies just beneath the surface of the everyday. The language he uses is simple, but poetic, full of images drawn from the natural world. A hero's hair is the colour of the raven's wing. A princess's skin is as white as the bog cotton. The stories feel as organic and true as the landscape that birthed them. They are not inventions, but discoveries, truths that have been passed down through the heartbeats of generations. As you listen, the world of logic and reason recedes. You enter a state of peaceful dreaming while still awake. The rhythmic cadence of the voice, the warmth of the fire, the ancient power of the myths, they combine to create a deeply meditative state. There are no hard edges in this world, no jarring notes. There is only the soft, glowing core of the story, holding everyone in the room in its gentle embrace. This is the culture of quietude. It is a way of life that finds its deepest expression not in noise and spectacle, but in the patient creation of beauty, the reverent preservation of wisdom, and the intimate connection to the living land. It is a heritage of stillness, a legacy of peace. And as you allow your mind to wander through these quiet histories, you feel their essence seep into your own being, a profound and lasting calm, as deep and as ancient as Ireland itself. That deep, quiet history has not vanished. It flows like an underground river beneath the surface of the present day, nourishing the roots of a life lived with gentle intention. The spirit of the monk in his cell and the storyteller by the fire lives on, transformed into the simple, peaceful rhythms of a small Irish village. The day begins not with an alarm, but with a slow brightening of the eastern sky. A soft, pearlescent light seeps into the narrow streets, touching the tops of the slate roofs first, then spilling down the whitewashed walls. Mist still clings to the river that runs through the village, softening the edges of the stone bridge. The air is cool and clean, carrying the scent of damp earth and the faint salty promise of the nearby sea. In a small stone building just off the main street, a baker is already at work. He moves in the warm golden glow of his ovens, a solitary figure in a cloud of fine white flour. His motions are practiced, unhurried, a choreography perfected over a lifetime. He kneads the dough for soda bread on a massive wooden table, its surface worn into smooth hollows by decades of work. The action is a quiet conversation between his hands and the dough, a pushing, a folding, a turning. There are no loud machines, only the soft thud of the dough, the scrape of a metal tool, the whisper of flour being dusted across the board. The aroma in the small shop is the very essence of comfort, the yeasty promise of rising dough, the sweet scent of warm flour, and soon the rich, wholesome fragrance of baking bread. Loaves with deep brown, crackled crusts are drawn from the oven, their warmth filling the room, their steam rising like a morning prayer. As the village awakens, the weekly market begins to stir in the square. It is a quiet affair. Stalls are erected with a minimum of fuss, their canvas awnings providing shelter from a soft, intermittent drizzle that does nothing to dampen the peaceful atmosphere. The cobblestones are slick with moisture, reflecting the grey sky and the muted colours of the old stone buildings. Here, the bounty of the land is laid out with simple grace. A woman with kind eyes and work-worn hands presides over a table laden with her own creations. There are wheels of farmhouse cheese, some pale and crumbly, others wrapped in wax, their scent sharp and earthy. She offers a small taste on the tip of a knife, a quiet act of sharing. Beside the cheese sits golden butter, pressed into blocks and wrapped in waxed paper. It is the colour of summer sunshine, churned from the milk of cows that graze on the rich green pastures you have already seen. Its taste is pure, creamy, a world away from anything mass-produced. And of course, there is the bread from the baker's shop, still warm, dense, heavy loaves of brown soda bread, their crusts marked with a deep cross. To buy a loaf is to take home the warmth of the hearth, the smell of the good earth. People move through the market slowly. Greetings are exchanged in low voices. There is no shouting, no haggling. Transactions are simple, accompanied by a shared nod about the weather, a quiet question about family. Shopping bags are gradually filled with potatoes still bearing a dusting of dark soil, with bunches of deep green kale, its leaves beaded with raindrops, with jars of honey the colour of dark amber. The market is not just a place of commerce, it is a quiet weekly ritual, a reaffirmation of community and connection to the land. Down by the harbour, where small colourful fishing boats rock gently on the tide, the rhythm of life is dictated by the sea. The water in the harbour is a deep, murky green, reflecting the hulls of the boats and the grey stone of the quay. The air smells of salt seaweed and the faint, sharp scent of diesel. An old fisherman sits on an overturned lobster pot mending his nets. His face is a map of his life, its lines carved by sun and sea wind. His hands, though gnarled and weathered, move with a surprising grace and precision. He works with a small wooden needle, weaving new twine into the holes of the net, his movements fluid and repetitive. He is utterly absorbed in his task. His focus is absolute. For him, this is not a chore but a meditation, a necessary act of care and preparation. The net lies in a great heap at his feet, a vast tangled landscape of rope and knots. Patiently, methodically he works his way through it. his hands knowing the way without his eyes needing to guide them. The only sounds are the cry of a distant gull, the gentle lapping of water against the stone wall, and the soft rhythmic scrape of the wooden needle against the twine. In another part of the village, in a room filled with a soft northern light, a weaver sits at a large wooden loom. The loom itself is a magnificent creation, a complex architecture of wood and string that fills a third of the room. It is old, its wooden frame polished smooth by generations of use. The weaver is surrounded by colour. Baskets of wool sit on the floor, their contents dyed in the shades of the Irish landscape. There is the deep purple of heather, the bright defiant yellow of gorse, the soft grey-green of lichen, the rich brown of the peat bogs. She has gathered these colours from the land, using plants and minerals to transform the plain wool into a palette of earthy beauty. Her work is a dance of hands and feet. Her feet press the pedals, raising and lowering the threads of the warp. Her hands throw the shuttle, carrying the weft thread from one side to the other. A rhythmic thump-clack fills the room, a sound as steady and comforting as a heartbeat. With each pass of the shuttle, a new line of colour is added, and the fabric on the loom grows by a fraction of an inch. It is slow, painstaking work. A single blanket might take weeks to complete, but the result is something of lasting beauty and utility, a tweed that is warm, durable, and imbued with the very essence of the place where it was made. To watch her is to watch patience made visible, to see a landscape being woven into cloth, thread by thread. The afternoon light filters through the small wavy glass of a pub window. This sign above the door is simple, its painted letters faded by the weather. Inside, the world slows to a near standstill. The air is warm and still, smelling of old wood, beeswax, and the comforting aroma of a peat fire. A fire crackles in a large stone hearth, casting a warm, flickering glow on the dark wood of the bar and the row of polished brass taps. The light from the window is too weak to reach the corners of the room, leaving them in a comfortable, peaceful gloom. A few old men sit at a small table near the fire. They are not talking much. One reads a newspaper, another simply stares into the flames, a pint of dark stout resting untouched before him. When they do speak, their voices are low, a soft murmur that blends with the crackle of the fire. They have known each other their entire lives. There is no need for much conversation. Their shared silence is comfortable, a testament to a lifetime of friendship. The publican moves quietly behind the bar, polishing a glass with a soft cloth. His movements are economical, efficient. He nods to a newcomer, draws a pint, his actions part of a ritual performed thousands of times. The stout is poured slowly, in 2 stages, allowing the creamy head to form perfectly. It is an act of patience, a small, quiet craft in itself. This is not a place for noise or hurry. It is a sanctuary from the outside world, a place where time is measured not in minutes, but in the slow sinking of a creamy head on a pint, in the turning of a newspaper page, in the silent burning of a peat fire. Outside the village, on a narrow road hemmed in by ancient stone walls, another timeless rhythm unfolds. A farmer, his silhouette dark against the fading afternoon light, herds his sheep. He walks with a slow, steady gait, a wooden crook held in his hand. A border collie, low to the ground, its movements a study in controlled energy, works the edges of the flock. The sheep move as one, a river of creamy wool flowing down the lane. The sound is a soft, continuous rustling, the sound of hundreds of hooves on the tarmac, punctuated by the occasional low bleat. The air is thick with the warm lanolin scent of their fleece. The dog responds to the farmer's quiet whistles and soft-spoken commands, darting left and right to keep the flock together, to prevent a stray from wandering into an open gate. There is no shouting, no panic. It is a partnership, a silent understanding between man, dog and flock, perfected over countless generations. A car coming the other way pulls over and waits patiently, its driver watching the ancient procession with a look of quiet appreciation. In this part of the world, the sheep have the right of way. time can wait. In a small terraced house, a woman sits by the window, a cup of tea growing cool beside her. Her hands are busy with knitting, the needles clicking together in a soft, steady rhythm. She's making a traditional Aran sweater, the complex patterns of cables, diamonds and zigzags emerging from her needles. Each pattern has a meaning, a story. The cable stitch represents a fisherman's ropes, a prayer for a safe return from the sea. The diamond stitch symbolises the small fields of the islands, a wish for wealth and success. The zigzag stitch represents the winding cliff paths. As she knits, she's not just making a garment, she's weaving a story, a history, a set of prayers and wishes into the very fabric of the wool. Her concentration is gentle, her expression peaceful. The world outside her window could be anywhere, but the world in her hands, in the intricate dance of wool and needles, is uniquely Irish. A small bookshop is tucked between the butcher and the post office. Its windows are crowded with books, old and new. Stepping inside is like entering a haven of quiet. The air smells of old paper and binding glue. The only sound is the gentle creak of the wooden floorboards. The owner, a man with glasses perched on the end of his nose, sits behind a counter piled high with books. He looks up and gives a small, welcoming smile, then returns to his reading. He's not a salesman, but a custodian of stories. People drift in and out, browsing the shelves in a respectful silence. They run their fingers along the spines of books, pull one out, read a page or two, and either replace it gently or bring it to the counter. It is a place for quiet discovery, for peaceful journeys undertaken in the mind. As evening begins to draw in, the light changes. The grey of the day softens, taking on hues of lavender and pale gold. The clouds on the horizon are tinged with a soft rose colour. This is the gloaming, the long, magical Irish twilight. Lights begin to appear in windows, creating warm yellow rectangles against the deepening blue of the evening. The smoke from the chimneys, carrying the scent of peat fires, hangs in the still air. The sounds of the day, the quiet murmur of the market, the clack of the loom, the lap of the water, fade away, replaced by a deeper silence. A child's laughter rings out for a moment from a back garden, then is gone. A dog barks once, twice, then falls silent. The village is settling down for the night, drawing in on itself, wrapping itself in a blanket of peace. The human element here is not a disruption of the landscape's peace, but an extension of it. The lives lived in this village are woven into the fabric of the place. The rhythm of the work is the rhythm of the seasons. The patience of the craftsman is the patience of the ancient stones. The quiet conversations are as soft as the mist that rolls in from the hills. This is a life lived on a human scale, a life where there is time to do things well, time to talk, time to be silent, time to simply be. It is a quiet testament to the idea that a meaningful life does not need to be a loud one. The gentle, daily rhythms of this small village are a lullaby in themselves, a soft, steady beat that speaks of continuity, of community, and of a profound and enduring peace. The gentle rhythms of the village begin to fade. The day, with its quiet work and simple moments, is folding itself away for the night. You feel a gentle pull to move away from the warm lights of the cottages, to seek a place where the transition from day to night can be witnessed in its purest form. A narrow path leads out of the village, away from the harbour and the market square. It is a sheep track, worn into the earth by centuries of small cloven hooves. The path is soft underfoot, a mixture of dark, peaty soil and resilient turf. Small, hardy wildflowers grow along its edges, sea pinks and tiny white starflowers that have already begun to close their petals for the night. To walk here is to feel the land's gentle give and take, a softness that yields slightly before supporting you. The path winds upwards, climbing gently towards the open headland that overlooks the sea. The air changes as you ascend. The comforting smoky scent of peat fires gives way to something cleaner, sharper. The smell of salt is more pronounced here, carried on a breeze that has travelled over hundreds of miles of open water. The The scent of damp earth and crushed wild thyme rises from the path with each imagined footstep. The air itself feels different, lighter, yet filled with the immense presence of the ocean. The sounds of the village recede behind you, replaced by a different kind of quiet. This is not the cushioned silence of a pub or a bookshop, but the vast open silence of the natural world. It is a silence composed of ancient sounds, the whisper of wind through long grass and the distant rhythmic breathing of the ocean. You reach the top of the headland. The land here is open, covered in a thick springy turf that softens the landscape. Before you, the Atlantic Ocean stretches to the horizon, a vast expanse of slate-grey water that merges seamlessly with the sky. And here, in this high, lonely place, they stand, a circle of ancient stones. They are not tall or dramatic. Some are no higher than a person's shoulder. They are great, weathered pillars of granite, their surfaces scarred and grooved by thousands of years of wind and rain. They lean at slight angles, as if tired from their long, long watch. Each stone has its own personality. One is broad and squat, like a powerful shoulder hunched against the wind. Another is tall and slender, a finger pointing to a forgotten constellation. A third has been split by lightning in a long-ago storm, yet its two halves still stand together, loyal to their original purpose. They do not form a perfect circle, but a shape that feels organic, as if they grew here. The spaces between them are as important as the stones themselves. They are doorways, windows framing different views of the sea, the sky, the distant sleeping hills. To stand in the centre is to feel held, protected, yet still open to the vastness all around. There is no sound from them. There is only a profound presence. They are anchors in the landscape, holding this piece of earth in place. They have seen everything, the passing of ice ages, the rising and falling of the sea, the coming and going of countless generations. Their silence is not empty. It is full of time. It's a silence that absorbs your own thoughts, leaving a peaceful stillness in their place. You find a place to rest near the circle, a spot sheltered from the wind by one of the great stones. The turf is soft beneath you, a natural cushion of interwoven roots and moss. The stone at your back is cool, solid, and immensely reassuring. Its surface is a landscape in miniature, a rough terrain of crystal grains, quartz, feldspar, mica, that glitter faintly in the last light. From here you can watch the day come to its final, peaceful close. The sun is low in the west, a pale golden disk in a sky of soft greys and muted blues. There are no fiery reds or dramatic oranges. The sunset here is a gentle, gradual affair, a slow letting go of the light. The clouds are not sharp-edged, but soft, like smudges of charcoal drawn by a gentle hand. They drift slowly, their edges catching the light and fraying into threads of pale gold. The light itself has a tangible quality. It is thick, soft, and golden, like honey diluted in water. It slants across the headland, making the shadows of the standing stones stretch long and deep across the green grass. The shadows are not black, but a deep, soft indigo, and they move with imperceptible slowness as the sun sinks. Every blade of grass, every tiny wildflower, is edged in this soft, golden luminescence. The surface of the sea catches this fading light. The water is no longer grey, but a mosaic of silver, pewter, and soft hammered gold. The gentle swell of the ocean creates slow-moving patterns of light and shadow, a vast, breathing tapestry that is never the same from one moment to the next. The light seems to float upon the surface, a liquid calm that rises and falls with the patient rhythm of the deep. It is as if the ocean has captured the last of the day's warmth and is holding it gently before releasing it to the night. The wind moves around you, a constant soft whisper. It has no anger in it. It is the steady, cleansing breath of the ocean. It combs through the long grass of the headland, making it sway in gentle, hypnotic waves. You can see the path of the wind as it passes, a ripple of darker green moving across the field. It murmurs around the edges of the standing stones, a sound so ancient it feels like the voice of time itself. As the sun touches the horizon, the world seems to hold its breath. The light softens even further. The gold deepens for a moment to a warmer amber hue, and a faint flush of rose pink appears on the undersides of the highest clouds. It is a colour so subtle you might miss it if you were not paying attention. It is not painted across the sky, but infused within it, a quiet blush of farewell, a final, warm sigh from the departing day. There is no sound as the sun dips below the edge of the world. There is only a slow, inexorable dimming of the light. The golden glow fades from the surface of the water, which returns to a deep, calming grey blue. The long shadows of the stones dissolve, merging into the general softness of the twilight. The world loses its sharp definition and becomes a place of gentle shapes and soft edges. This is the afterglow, a time of profound peace. The world is suspended between day and night. The colours are muted, subtle and incredibly beautiful. The sky directly above is a pale, luminous blue, the colour of a robin's egg. In the west, where the sun has set, the horizon holds a band of soft lavender and pale lemon. This gentle light seems to rise from the earth and sea as much as it falls from the sky. The standing stones seem to gather the last of this light. Their grey surfaces take on a soft, ethereal glow. They are no longer just rocks. They are presences, ancient and wise. Their silence a comfort in the deepening twilight. Their texture, seen up close, is a universe of its own. Patches of moss, a deep, velvety green, grow in the hollows where moisture gathers. If you were to touch it, it would feel cool and damp, softer than any velvet. Colonies of lichen, in shades of pale grey and soft dusty orange, create intricate maps on the weathered surfaces, each one a slow, living painting that has taken a century to complete. The temperature of the air begins to drop. It is a subtle change, a shift from cool to cold that is gentle and refreshing. You can feel it on your cheeks, a soft kiss from the coming night. The coolness is clean and pure, carrying no scent but the salt of the sea. It feels as if the air itself is becoming stiller, settling into place for the long, quiet hours ahead. A fine dew is forming on the grass, making it gleam faintly in the fading light. Each blade and leaf now wears a tiny, perfect sphere of moisture. The sound of the ocean becomes more distinct as the wind softens. It is the sound of the tide slowly coming in. It is not the crash of waves, but a slow, rhythmic wash of water against a distant pebble shore. The beach below is made not of sand, but of countless smooth, rounded stones, worn into perfect shapes by millennia of turning in the surf. A long soft as the water spreads over the stones, lifting them for a moment in its cool embrace. And then a gentle rattling sigh as it draws back again, the pebbles clicking softly against one another as they settle into a new configuration. It is the most peaceful sound in the world. It is the sound of the earth breathing in its sleep. It is a rhythm that has been repeating for millions of years, a lullaby for the land itself, a sound that speaks of endless patience and continuity. The sound is so steady, so ancient, that it becomes a part of the silence itself. Look up at the sky. It is deepening to indigo, a rich dark blue that is full of peace. And there, in the darkening east, a single star appears. It does not burst into view, but rather emerges slowly, a tiny, steady pinprick of silver light, as if a hole has been gently poked in the dark velvet of the sky. It does not twinkle fiercely, but glows with a calm, unwavering light. Soon another follows, then another. They appear not suddenly, but as if your eyes are slowly adjusting to their faint ancient light. They are not crowded together, but scattered with a perfect random grace. They form simple patterns against the deep blue, a quiet scattering of diamonds. The appearance of these first stars changes the feeling of the sky. It is no longer just a fading light, but the beginning of a new and beautiful darkness. The immensity of the universe makes itself felt, not in a way that is overwhelming, but in a way that is deeply calming. The small worries of the day seem to shrink and dissolve in the face of this vast, silent peace. The loft below, or a sheltered bay of the sea, has become a mirror for the sky. Its surface is perfectly still, a sheet of dark glass reflecting that first star, then the second, then the third. The last band of pale colour on the horizon is also reflected there, creating a world of perfect tranquil symmetry where it is difficult to tell where the water ends and the sky begins. The land itself is letting go. The greens of the grass are deepening into darker, softer shades, almost black in the twilight. The outlines of the distant hills are becoming simple, soft silhouettes against the luminous sky. The world is losing its hard edges, its sharp details, and is dissolving into a beautiful, restful simplicity. The silence deepens, the wind dies down to a mere breath, a soft stirring of the air against your skin. The only sound is the steady, soft rhythm of the tide. It is a sound that does not ask for your attention, but gently holds it. It is a sound you can let your own breathing attune to. Inhale with the soft sigh of the retreating water. Exhale with the long slow of the incoming wave. The stone at your back feels like a part of the earth itself. Its ancient coolness seeps into you, not as a chill, but as a deep, grounding stillness. You feel connected to its immense age, its patient endurance. It has been standing here, in this spot through countless sunsets, and it will be here for countless more. There is a great comfort in this permanence. The air is now filled with the scent of the night. It is the smell of cool, damp stone, of wet grass, of the clean, empty expanse of the sea. It is the smell of rest. The details of the world are fading away. The intricate patterns of the lichen on the stones are no longer visible. The individual blades of grass have merged into a single, soft darkness. The colours of the sky have faded to a uniform deep indigo, now scattered with 1,000 soft silver stars. A faint milky band begins to stretch across the heavens, the silent, majestic river of the galaxy, a celestial mist of powdered diamonds. All that is left is the feeling of peace, the cool air on your skin, the solid presence of the ancient stone, the vast, starry sky above, and the gentle, rhythmic sound of the breathing ocean. This moment is a gift, a quiet corner at the end of the day, a space to simply be. There is nothing to do, nothing to think about. Your thoughts, if they come at all, are as soft and distant as the clouds that passed hours ago. They drift by without weight, without edges. There is only the slow, peaceful unfolding of the night. The world is settling into a deep and profound rest. The sheep are sleeping in the sheltered hollows of the hills. The lights in the village have gone out, one by one. The fisherman's boat rocks gently in the dark harbour. The weaver's loom stands silent in the moonlight, and here, among the ancient stones, you're invited to join in this great, quiet rest. Let the rhythm of the tide wash away the last thoughts of the day. Let the coolness of the air soothe you. Let the vast, peaceful darkness hold you. There is no longer any need to watch, or listen, or feel. It is time to let go. Time to drift. Time to fall asleep in this quiet corner of Ireland, held safely in the arms of the ancient land and the endless peaceful night. The night deepens. The last of the twilight has faded from the sky, leaving behind a profound and velvet darkness. The stones around you are no longer visible, but you can feel their ancient presence, their immense and silent stillness. The air is cold now, a pure, clean cold that speaks of the deep ocean and the vast emptiness between the stars. The journey of the day is done. It is time to seek shelter, time to find warmth. In the distance, a single, soft light appears. A warm, yellow square against the deep indigo of the sleeping land. It is a cottage, nestled in a fold of the hills, waiting. There is no effort in the journey towards it. You simply drift. The path is soft beneath your feet. The air is still. The silence is now so complete that you can almost hear the turning of the earth. The cottage door is made of old, dark wood, its surface smoothed by a century of hands. The simple iron latch lifts without a sound. You step from the cool, crisp night into a gentle, waiting warmth. The room is small and simple. The walls are thick stone, the ceiling is low with dark wooden beams. The only light comes from the hearth. There, a peat fire is slowly dying. It is not a blaze, but a gentle bed of glowing embers, a deep, soft, pulsing orange, like the heart of the land itself. The fire breathes, its light waxing and waning with a slow, steady rhythm. The embers are a mosaic of deep red and glowing orange, veiled by a soft grey ash that shifts with each invisible breath of air. The warmth it gives is not a sharp heat. It is a soft, radiant warmth that travels through the quiet air and touches your skin. It asks for nothing. It simply gives. The air in the room is filled with its scent, the sweet, earthy fragrance of burning turf, the smell of the ancient bogs, of time itself, released as a gentle, comforting perfume. It is the scent of home, of safety, of deep, deep peace. A simple, comfortable chair waits for you by the fire. It is old and worn, a place of rest for generations. You settle into it, letting it hold you. And a blanket is there, draped over the arm of the chair, a hand-woven woolen blanket, thick and heavy. You draw it over you. Its weight is a comfort, a gentle, reassuring pressure that tells you that you are safe, that you can let go. It settles around you like a gentle hug, a grounding presence in the quiet room. The wool is soft, but with the honest, slightly rough texture of real, natural fleece. It holds the warmth of the fire, wrapping you in a cocoon of gentle heat. The world outside disappears, the vast starry sky, the cold sea, the ancient stones, they're all outside. Here in this small warm room you are sheltered. You are at peace. Your attention drifts, away from the world and into the feeling of this moment, the feeling of the warmth on your face, the feeling of the heavy, soft blanket around you, the feeling of the comfortable chair supporting you completely. The shadows on the wall dance in time with the breathing of the fire. They are soft, indistinct shapes. They lengthen and shorten, deepen and fade. They are a silent, gentle story, a lullaby for the eyes. The silence in the room is deep and soft. It is a silence made of stone walls, of old wood, of the quiet, sleeping land outside. The only sound is the faintest whisper from the dying fire, a soft sigh as an ember settles, a tiny, gentle crackle. These are the sounds of warmth, the sounds of peace. Your body begins to let go bit by bit. The warmth from the hearth finds your feet first. It travels through the air, through the thick wool of the blanket and touches your skin. A deep, penetrating warmth that soaks into your feet, making them feel heavy and relaxed. So very heavy. Each toe lets go, one by one. The soles of your feet grow warm and soft, releasing their connection to the ground. Your heels sink down, heavy and still, sinking softly into the floor. This feeling of warmth and heaviness begins to flow upwards. It melts into your ankles, releasing any tension there. It flows into your calves, and you can feel the muscles softening, letting go, becoming heavy and still. There is no strength in them now, only softness, only weight. The warmth continues to rise, pooling in your knees, then flowing up into your thighs. Your legs feel so heavy now, so wonderfully heavy and warm, completely supported by the chair. There is no effort left in them, just a deep, peaceful heaviness, sinking deeper, heavier and warmer. This gentle wave of relaxation moves into your hips, your lower back. This part of you that has carried you through the day can now completely release. You feel yourself sinking deeper into the chair, letting go of all effort, feeling completely held. The chair is doing all the work now. You don't have to do anything at all. Your breathing is slow and steady, a gentle rise, a soft fall. With each breath out, you sink a little deeper into comfort. You let go a little more. The warmth spreads across your stomach and chest. It is a soft, glowing warmth that radiates from within, joining the warmth from the fire. Your breathing remains easy and slow, the gentle rise and fall of your chest a peaceful, steady rhythm. The rhythm of deep rest. The coolness of the night air still lingers on your hands. You hold them out towards the fire, and you can feel the soft warmth begin to soak into them. A gentle, penetrating heat that travels from your fingertips into your palms through your wrists. Your fingers, which may have been curled, now gently uncurl. They lie soft and open, heavy in your lap. The warmth spreads up your arms, a feeling of deep, glowing comfort. It flows past your elbows and into your upper arms. Your shoulders soften. They drop. They release the weight of the day, a feeling of melting. All the cares of the day are simply melting away from your shoulders, leaving only peace. This feeling of release travels up into your neck. The muscles in your neck soften and let go. Your head feels heavy and perfectly supported. There is no need to hold it up any longer. Just let it rest. Now, this gentle relaxation flows into your face. Your jaw softens, unclenches. Your lips part slightly. Your cheeks feel smooth and relaxed. The tiny muscles around your eyes let go completely. Your eyes feel heavy and still beneath your closed lids. Your forehead becomes smooth, free of any lines of thought. Your entire body is now held in a state of deep, warm, heavy relaxation. So heavy, so comfortable, sinking deeper. The fire in the hearth continues its slow, gentle dance. The embers glow a deep and calming orange. They are like your own slow, steady thoughts, glowing for a moment before fading into peaceful darkness. The light in the room is very soft now. The fire is sinking deeper into itself, preparing for its own long sleep. The shadows have grown long and still. The room is a safe, warm, gentle darkness. The weight of the blanket is a constant comforting presence. It is the feeling of being held, the feeling of being completely secure. There is nothing to do, nowhere to be, only this moment, this peace. Your eyelids feel heavy, a gentle, pleasant weight. They want to stay closed. Let them stay closed. The darkness behind your eyes is a soft, welcome darkness, a gentle, empty space, a place of perfect rest. Your breathing continues its slow, steady rhythm, in and out. Each breath takes you a little deeper, deeper into stillness, deeper into peace. The warmth from the fire has filled you now, a gentle, glowing warmth at the very center of your being. It is the warmth of deep relaxation, the warmth of impending sleep. Your body feels heavy, a gentle, pleasant heaviness, sinking softly into the chair, supported, held, letting go. The last of your thoughts are like feathers drifting on the quiet air. They float by, soft and light, and then they are gone. There is no need to hold on to them. Just let them drift away. The space between your thoughts grows longer, wider, a peaceful, quiet space. If a memory from the day appears, it is soft and distant. A flash of green from a rolling hill, a whisper of the wind on the cliffs. The memory is like a watercolour painting, its edges soft and blurred. It floats for a moment and then dissolves. The sound of the weaver's loom. A gentle, rhythmic memory that fades into the silence. The warmth of the fresh soda bread. A comforting feeling that merges with the warmth of the fire. These are not active thoughts. They are echoes, dreams before the dream. They ask nothing of you. You simply notice them as they drift past on their way to somewhere else. Your mind is becoming as still as the dark lough at midnight. The surface is smooth and calm. Any thought that arises is just a small, soft ripple that spreads out and disappears, leaving the stillness undisturbed. You're floating now, floating in this warm, safe, quiet darkness. There is no effort required. Gravity is your friend. A gentle, comforting presence, pulling you down into the deepest, most peaceful rest you have known. Let it pull you down, deeper and deeper, down into the soft mattress of sleep. There is nothing to figure out, nothing to remember. All of that can wait. It will be there tomorrow. Tonight is for rest. Tonight is for peace. You are drifting, a gentle, slow, easy drift, like a boat on a calm sea, rocking gently on the swell, unmoored from the shore, drifting safely on the deep, quiet water, drifting on the edge of sleep. The silence is all around you now, the deep, profound silence of the Irish night, the silence of the sleeping hills, the silence of the ancient stones, the silence of the stars, and you are part of that silence, that great, peaceful silence. Your breathing is the only rhythm now. Slow, deep, steady. Each breath is a wave, carrying you further away from the shore of wakefulness, further into the deep, calm ocean of sleep, letting go completely now. There is nothing left to hold on to, only the feeling of warmth, the feeling of heaviness, the feeling of peace. You're drifting into a deep and healing sleep, a sleep as deep as the peat bogs, as peaceful as a ruined chapel in the morning mist, as restorative as the gentle, persistent rain, drifting, floating, sinking, down into a soft and welcoming darkness, down into deep, peaceful sleep. The journey is over. It is time to rest. It is time to let go. Sleep now. Sleep. The world is quiet, and you are quiet with it, sinking down, so peaceful, so still. Deep, peaceful sleep. Sleep now. Sleep.